The X-tinction Agenda, comics of the 80s, 90s, and more.
X-tinction Agenda, episode 4, Spawn Special.
Boom, the big Spawn Special. We are back.
So Spawn, Todd MacFarlane. What did this? This is May. We're talking about issues 1 through 12.
Yes.
May 1992 to July 1993.
Great
A
years.
consistent release schedule. Very good. So I'm going to say that this is your choice. I agreed to it wholeheartedly.
Yes.
So tell me about Spawn. What do you got for me there?
Yeah. So this is the real deal. The release of Spawn from Todd MacFarlane. This was the money maker, the big dog of Image, right? This would have been the flagship of Image Comics, correct?
Yeah. It sold 1.7 million copies in May of 1992.
That's crazy, right?
Yeah, there was no variant covers. I think that's interesting. There was no special card that you got, no Mylar bag.
Just one big fucking load of Spawn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that sounds gross when you say it like that. I gotta say, it's got connotations.
Yeah. So Al Simmons is the main character. He makes a deal with the devil. How did you feel about the dialogue and fragmented memory thing that they started with?
I gotta say that the first issue of this is very strong. The art is actually the panel layouts are really elaborate. The stories, it's like you would say, it's a shotgun opening. It's just like yeah.
Well, they directly went into murder, rape, establishing that at Image we fucking don't abide by the comics code. This shit is rated R. Eat it.
Actually, and that's a good point. Yeah, because they dropped the comics code in a way that Marvel and DC hadn't done yet. Anyway, yeah, they definitely jumped right into that. I mean, so it's mature in a way that a 12-year-old will find mature.
That's stiff. Okay,
well, not wrong.
I understand that. Yeah, and you're not wrong. Yeah. You're right. And we did at 12 years old find this fucking really balls out. Some shit that you had to hide from your parents.
Yeah, because we'll get into some of the specifics, but this is an interesting comic. We can say that for sure.
Right.
So I really liked the first issue. I was actually a little I remembered enough about Spawn to know that it was an enterprise of diminishing returns. But the first issu's pretty solid, and it's Todd obviously getting something out on the page that he was thinking about. And unfortunately, the rest of the issues are him realizing that he doesn't know anything else to do. He was done almost immediately. He
unloaded the idea. He had the power meter that got dumped right in the first issue. There were constant Youngblood plugs. I don't know if that was a couple issues in, but man, this guy must be a Youngblood, right? They plugged their other
that's right
books.
In the first issue. That's
they were jizzing their other books because they knew this was the big dog. I guess from that on, the issues that you're sad about where they moved directly into the Violator thing.
Yeah. I guess I don't even know. I'm gonna challenge you right now.
Okay.
Tell me what aside from the issues by other writers. Let's put those aside for the moment. For issues.
8, 9, 10. Dave Sim, this type of thing.
Yeah, all that stuff. Aside from that, what happened?
Well, Al.
Yeah.
made a deal with the devil, which he can't really remember a lot of, which I feel like
Yeah.
they held information back in order to drive their first like 20 issues by like
Yeah.
revealing little bits when it was actually like a pretty linear story that could have been explained in a paragraph. And I actually believe that one of the issues, I made notes on it. Anyway, one of the issues later on, they actually do like I think it's Neil Gaiman that does like a 2-paragraph intro
Mhm.
to his issue that basically
Okay.
explains Spawn in full.
I bet.
Which really diminishes the first few books. But
Yeah.
he basically, Al Simmons makes deal with the devil. I want to go
Uh-huh.
back and see my wife. The devil's kind of this idiotic, weird, obsessed with Al Simmons figure that
Uh-huh.
basically grants him his wish. He then gets to see his wife, only he's mutilated, which is like a joke. And then since he's like a proud black American soldier, he can only turn
Mhm.
into a white guy, which makes
Yeah, that's an
it,
interesting.
it's a dumb idea that basically makes it so that his like ability to see his wife is wasted. Ha, you got tricked by the devil. And then he basically goes into a self-loathing zone and just hangs out with some bums in an alley, which I guess is the premise for all of the books we read, right, through 2 graphic novels.
That's exactly it. There you go. Thanks, man.
Yeah,
And
okay.
that's 12 issues. You know, okay, let's say that's 8 issues, but like that's an
Yeah.
embarrassment. He just spins his wheels, like, and there's so many words. It's just constant dialogue, constant, and it's just like Todd never stopped being 18. He never stopped being 18, and he never really learned anything other than how to draw, like really elaborate caricature figures,
Right.
within a semi realistically or naturalistically rendered environment.
Well, I think the Spawn, the main character, has that what we just described, the weak kind of story. But they do,
Yeah.
and then the Violator was very weak. This clown thing that turns into a monstrous creature that then is supposed to, I don't know what that even was, but it was wasted, whatever that was. I think it was a drawing of a creature that morphed from a clown into this monstrosity that was kind of
sure.
horrific and clever in terms of a toy or character.
Yeah.
And that it had to make the page, and I think that's all that was. But it has to have some kind of appeal, like a gothic, like a power fantasy appeal, because it's very popular and it still holds some clout. I'm
He
going to
just
throw back.
published 300 issue 300. Like issue 301 comes out this month, I think.
Yeah.
So like, gotta hand it to him. That's not nothing.
No, and the idea too. I mean, the idea that HBO ran a cartoon that I think is the best representation of Spawn that you can find across all forms of media.
Mhm.
And it's really over the top aggressive. It's got way more swearing, way more nudity, way more ultra violence even than the comic books. And I think it delivers the that this is supposed to, but it's completely rewritten. It's rescripted, rewritten.
Okay, well, yeah, I'm glad you said that, because that's exactly
yeah,
it. Like,
it's it's done with competent writers and a big studio behind it, and it actually on IMDb scores quite high, I believe,
okay,
because
well,
it's well reviewed. But
we'll revisit that. I think we'll put that definitely on the list of things to watch.
I'm just saying the premise, like the body of the story, has an appeal. It's got something behind it, and even though this wasn't like delivered the way it could have been, I think.
Well, it's essentially, it's not. It's Born Identity meets guy makes a deal with the devil.
Yeah.
You've got this super soldier. He doesn't remember his memory. He's got lots of power. He's trying to get back to his loved ones or his life. But the devil's fucking with him. And yeah, man, there's a lot of mileage there's a lot of juice to be squeezed out of that orange. But Todd early on is not the one to do it.
Well, the big thing too, which I think comes later with the guest writers. There's guest writers in issues 8, 9, 10, and 11.
10 and 11. Yeah.
Alan Moore, Neil Gaiman, Frank Miller, Dave Sim, even Grant Morrison later, which we didn't read.
Yeah.
But those are big, heavy-hitting writers. But he actually, just for like a little a side note, gets
Mhm.
into a legal battle with Neil Gaiman.
Oh, we're going to talk a lot about that later on when
okay.
I got something. I got a lot to say about that. But anyway,
Yeah,
you're
that's
aware of
so.
it. Yeah.
But yeah, that in itself dictates to me that, um, uh, sorry, what's his name? Todd MacFarlane, excuse me,
Yeah.
has a deep need to deliver this story, but also retain all the rights to anything creative that's happening here. And what he's doing when he does that, I believe, is he needs to make sure he's writing it. He needs to make sure he's creating it. He needs to make sure he's drawing it. And then he immediately starts these toy lines as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
And all of that encompasses is a very important part of this. And part of the reason I think it's delivered poorly was if you had better creative staff, this would have been delivered way better and could have been even bigger. However, you'd have to share rights and things with people, which he wasn't willing to do.
No, actually, and I've been, in typical fashion, I've been over preparing for absolutely everything that we do. So I read an old interview with McFarlane, and he one thing I didn't know. So backtrack a little bit. Before he entered into creating Spawn, he was drawing Spider-Man. And they even relaunched a whole series for him, and the first issue of that sold like 2.5 million. And it was huge, and he did, it was just gangbusters. But one thing he said about his run on Spider-Man and in all of his comics runs is he never created a new character, because he looked at the example of Jack Kirby and he said, and this is a quote, Jack Kirby got fucked. And so he knew what he was worth, and he knew what happened if you created something new for anyone else. And if you didn't grab it and hold it and make it yours, you're just going to get fucked by the system. And so, and that's what Image is about guys deciding not to get fucked.
Right. But and his preparation, I think even beyond Jim Lee and Rob Liefeld and other people who were responsible with launching Image Comics, he, I feel like, was the most prepared to hold his rights, his creator rights. He was the most prepared and the best prepared. And the most
enthusiastic.
Sense. Yeah, and he's the one that made it, like, really fucking hit the nail on the head in a business way.
No, and actually, it's funny that you say that, because at the same time that Todd, Todd's had some business dealings and he's had some legal battles and.
Oh yeah, you have to.
But
for what.
Well, he's caused. Okay, well, again, we're going to get to that. He's caused his own problems because he's an asshole.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah, but Rob Liefeld recently lost the rights to Youngblood because of a deal that he made years ago. So he no longer controls. He doesn't even fucking control Youngblood anymore. It just goes to show how much Todd was keyed in and understood how to basically create a new Marvel or a new DC, but just for himself. Just yeah.
I think that's one of the most important things about him and about the Spawn creation, he's a ruthless businessman and a real prick, and he was prepared to make sure that this stuff was all his.
But that, okay, so that's fine, and we're gonna, again, we're gonna return to that, but it's okay. So it's remarkable then that these comics are so unbelievably bad, and they sold like fucking gangbusters.
Not really, because he's a natural artist. That's it. He is an artist that had like a general idea that was flushed out since childhood, that was kind of neat and very fairly original.
Dude, extremely derivative. So what is Spawn other than Spider-Man, Batman, Punisher, and Ghost Rider?
Okay, so you're saying that he's just made like a slosh of people that he stole from his work in Marvel.
I'm saying he looked around at what was popular and he doodled a little fella that looked like what happens when you turn Batman into Spider-Man into the Punisher, and then added a little Ghost Rider with the hell stuff, and and the chains, and put the skulls, and he's so like he's just like what sells. Like one of the things that I noticed in the story and is abundantly clear in Todd's own aesthetic is cynicism. Everything has sinister motives, even himself. It's all self-interested. The universe, let's talk a little bit about the story. We've got the ice cream man, the Billy Kincaid guy.
Oh, Billy Kincaid.
And the psychiatrists are like, "Yep, let that guy go," and.
Well, that's that's like a dark look at the like he's I see what you mean. He has like a very deep cynicism and also like a dark overall view of the world. A dark like he's basically taking a shot at psychiatrists in any kind of a medical field. He's taking a shot at the justice system. He's taking a shot at he feels like detective work is clearly a joke. And police work is a joke. Psychiatry is a joke. Everything.
The CIA is corrupt, and
and everybody's
making
gun deals. The mafia is very cliche and just dark and disgusting. And Billy Kincaid's left out to go and murder children. Now, Billy Kincaid actually is a character that stuck with me when I was a kid, probably because I was 12 years old. I found that really horrific. And
I remember. Oh yeah, okay, go on a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think the character was good. I think that was like if I scrapped the Violator and dipped straight into Billy Kincaid, I think that the story carried a couple more layers that I liked a bit better. I like the ice cream thing. I like the dark outlook about. I mean, like really the justice system and plea bargains and getting out of jail on good behavior and shit like that. It is a weak system and it's exploited often. And this is like an ultra dark look at it. But I mean, like it's a very, I don't know. I thought that was the coolest part of the whole arc was Billy Kincaid getting out and cutting up kids, even though that's really, really fucking sick. But
actually, and I don't know. My memories are vague, but I also remember that issue more than like for me as because again we were 12, we were following this breathlessly from month to month. Fucking searching corner stores to read these issues desperately. The that thing, like the final scene, like he made. I scream, girls scream, so I made him scream and scream and scream. That's stuck in my memory. I will say that. Like that's always been something that's in the back of my head as an image, as something that the like a feeling, I guess, that the Spawn delivered to me, and one of the rare ones, but it always stuck there, and I can't deny that.
Yeah, and then that's where like a lot of the hardwiring for other parts of the story comes from too, because it turns out that Kitty Killer Kincaid was hired actually to kill a senator's kid, and then that left a waterfall of corruption through the government, through the mafia, and then even to be as sick as to reach out to a serial killer and have him go after people in the government, and that this is like just a tower of corruption, and then that's where that spins off different like rival factions that you can sort of pluck ideas from and drop them into this kind of world and this like torn up self-loathing character. So there's I don't know.
I think you're being generous. I think you're being extremely generous.
He also kind of basically stole the Crow also.
Oh shit. Yeah, you might be right about that. I'm not sure about the timeline. But yeah, maybe the Crow's stealing all that other shit too.
We got
to talk about the Crow someday. Absolutely.
That's coming down the pike. Not yet. But.
No. So, okay. So earlier in our conversations, I alluded to, and I even said it a couple moments ago. Todd MacFarlane is a caricature artist. his characters are caricatures. Sometimes he lets it all hang out and he gives them all big ears and stuff like that, but like he draws not realistic figures but dark carnival-esque figures.
Like if you were to meet someone on a beach boardwalk who draw a ridiculous picture of you holding a fish taco and you look like a total moron with a giant head, like that kind of artist.
That's Todd MacFarlane's art style to me.
Wow, I mean, that's mean.
It's very well rendered. It's fine, but but this time, like, I really can't get past it. I just like, and I think it's the Violator, and I think it's this connection I've made in my mind between the Insane Clown Posse, the Violator, and Todd MacFarlane. And I don't know if the timeline I don't know if the timeline matches, but I bet because like he made toys for them later. Like, it's a perfect match. It's the Insane Clown Posse's universe.
And then he did caricatures of all the mob bosses.
He sure did, yeah. And you looked up his lawsuits. So Tony Twist is based off some sort of fucking hockey player who's
Tony Twist and won,
yeah. Definitely.
Tony Twist is actually a revered hockey player. It's some type of classic in some people's
This is
minds.
what I'm talking about. This is about Todd making enemies that he doesn't. If you're gonna make enemies with anyone, don't do it with the fucking Dreamweaver. Don't do it with the Master of Dreams, Neil Gaiman. He's gonna eat you alive. He is the most savvy businessman in all of comics.
It's true.
I think that title belongs to him. And he clearly took Todd to the woodshed. What
happened there, I guess, was that Todd, I feel like you touched on this earlier in the episode where you said that he ran out of steam right away, almost right away. His ideas were blurbed into that first issue or so, and then he held back like little snippets of ideas that he had that basically were almost just really a toy line. In essence, in the way that you would like kind of shallowly introduce a new Transformer. Oh, this is Billy, the fucking dune buggy guy. Fuck whatever.
That's perfect description of Spawn right there.
Sadly, that's how it ran through. And he hit a wall right in there, right around there, right? When Neil came in around issue 9, issue 8 and 9, when he had Alan Moore and Neil in, and he actually asked Neil Gaiman apparently to design those characters for him. And then promised him X amount of royalties, and then just immediately stopped paying the royalties.
That's right, and then just immediately fucked him. It's amazing. And not just Angela. So the three characters.
I think he lost a crippling lawsuit to...
Oh, for sure. He owns...
to Neil Gaiman, right? And who ended up taking all the rights to the character.
Well, to Angela, who now exists in the Marvel Universe as a super fuck you to Todd. So there's Cogliostro or whatever, who showed up in the movie apparently, and then there's Medieval Spawn, which is a stupid character, and then Angela.
Well, he was a manifestation, like a dream manifestation or something, right?
Well, I think he's just a previous Spawn because, like, as Alan Moore's story shows, spoilers for everyone, like Malbolgia, the ultimate enemy, the devil of the 8th ring of hell, is creating an army of hell spawn to, I guess, fight the armies of heaven. Which is and I would just pause for a moment. I think it's interesting that in all that cynicism, there's still a very there's good guys and there's bad guys. There's still good and evil, but even good and evil are all bureaucratic and weird and anyway, whatever. Gaiman creates these characters and Todd I can't even believe it. He just fucks them immediately.
If you played ball with a peanut amount of royalties, you could have just ridden that all the way to the end
maybe worked with the Dreamweaver again in the future and made some money off that shit.
Yeah, and had Neil maybe come and make your stories not suck the big ass.
Yeah, for sure. And I want to comment on how the intelligence of Alan Moore, Dave Sim, and Frank Miller in not introducing new characters. Like what's interesting about all of their runs, even Gaiman's, he makes new characters, but none of them engage directly with Todd's story. They build around. Like he hires them to world build for him, and Alan Moore does the most work of that, establishing the hierarchy of hell.
Yes, with Billy Kincaid in the Dream Realm.
Right.
Which was actually probably one of the better issues.
Yeah, I think that they were all terrible. I think something about
Frank Miller is one with the creeps,
the two
and the
stupid,
geeks. Creeps and the nerds.
Yeah,
that
Frank. Like my notes for Frank's story is that Frank is just fucking around, doing nothing, and that's wise.
Yeah, everybody died.
Yeah.
That he created.
And why are there so many cyborgs in the fucking Spawn universe? It's just like
he just like mimics Overkill and makes like big ridiculous looking cyborgs.
Yeah, well, I guess he looked at the landscape and he was like, I guess that's what happens over here. I got like fuck all to work with.
This is what Spawn World's all about.
Yeah.
Let's have Spawn take down.
That said, I put it in our shared bits, the Spawn Batman miniseries or one shot. That's really solid. That's Frank actually doing some stuff with because it's got the Batman, right? It's but so Frank can do it. It's not that he doesn't have the chops at this point. He's just like he's too smart and having too much fun. He's just telling a stupid story with his pal.
Yeah.
He's probably getting a huge fucking paycheck, and he knows.
Yeah, that was the worst of anybody's help.
Yeah, it wasn't even help. Well, it was help to the extent that it's just like I don't know, like when you're asking someone to hold the baby for you for a little while, like it was that kind of help. Just hold this kid for me for a little while so I can do some laundry, and so he fucking that's what he did.
It was just god awful. I mean,
yeah. So and at this point, Alan Moore had stepped. So getting back to the Billy Kincaid issue, because Alan Moore did a lot of work for Todd and Image at this time. He did some stuff for Wildcats. He did Bad Rock Violator miniseries.
Oh, that's one of your hated Alan Moore moments, isn't it?
Well, I think it's hated by Alan Moore as well. This is a point when he was sort of coming back into comics, and he was, by his own admission, he was trying to write like he thought people wanted it at that moment. Maybe they did. I didn't know at 12, I didn't fucking know who Alan Moore was. I didn't give a shit. Yeah, it's just a work for hire thing. He had a bad tax bill or some shit, so he had to come back into comics. Does your version have the censored ending where it says "caca happens"? Billy,
yes,
caca.
Originally
it said "shit happens." I don't know. I'm not sure why that bugged me so much, but "caca happens" is stupid.
Wait, when did the caca happen? Excuse me.
No, it was the end of the Alan Moore episode where Billy Kincaid, he's with all those people and they're getting swallowed up by various versions of hell. And then eventually he ends up, he's just like, I'm so scared of Spawn. And then he ends up with, and I was just, I forgot. There's another thing this is derivative of. Venom, a symbiotic costume envelops him.
Yes. Yeah.
Venom.
Wait, wasn't that around the same time? No, well, actually, no, maybe that was, he would have had foreknowledge of that before Spawn. That was just before Spawn, like 89.
He drew Venom back
in his... That's right.
Yeah,
he was part of the creation team.
No, it came a bit before then, but anyway, he
But he's one of the ones that popularized Venom.
Absolutely, yeah. So symbiotic costume, all that fucking bullshit. So again, it just adds to my derivative argument. So anyway, Billy Kincaid gets swallowed up by the costume, and he's like, "Oh no, my worst nightmare! I'm afraid of Spawn, but now I am Spawn." Like, uh-oh. Watch out, Billy.
Yeah, I don't know what the plan was. I don't know why Billy needed to endure in the story, but whatever.
I'd be curious to find out if Billy comes back later, because again, 300
you'd have
issues.
to. That 300 issues. I mean, you'd have to cycle back around and be like, we gotta resurrect Billy Kincaid here, or run a Billy Kincaid storyline, something. I mean, I'm sure there's some. Hopefully, someday, our podcast will become so popular that our 1 million fans, there'll be a bunch of Spawn fans that are super fucking angry about this.
And they'll just be like, you don't know anything about Spawn,
You
man.
idiots! You idiots!
You know what we're going to do? We're going to play the "you had to be there" card.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, like, you guys, you didn't grow up with Spawn like we did. You had to be there.
Yeah.
We'll take the moral high ground, and then we'll tell them to fuck off.
Yeah, you had to fucking watch that go down.
Yeah.
I had a Spawn action figure.
I don't think I ever did. I didn't have any of the McFarlane toys. Yeah, the problem with it's not a problem with talking about Spawn, but what's more interesting about Spawn is Todd MacFarlane himself and the trajectory of everything that he got up to. Both like during Spawn and he was everywhere. Like, this was such an amazing breakaway performance on
it's
his.
True. He was famous for buying $1 million baseball at one point.
Yeah.
He bought like a Babe Ruth ball. Pardon me if I'm wrong about that.
Yeah, I remember he bought a fancy ball though.
He bought an autographed baseball that was worth like about $1 million just to flash the cash, and people were just like, "Who the fuck is this guy? This is the real Todd. This is Todd MacFarlane, the man, the Mac
right.
that started his own toy business, started his own lucrative toy business, and then rode the comics industry like a fucking pony."
I thought about it. Like, I was kind of trying. I was like, okay, so what's this guy's gross like income at this time? So if issue number 1 sells 1.7 mil, let's say that issue 2 sells 1 mil at this time, and for the first 12 issues, he sells 1 million copies each. That's at least $12 million just from the comics.
Like just that. Yeah. Oh, just like they're like profit. Like just.
Yeah. Because they were selling like $3-4 a pop. After distribution, blah blah blah. Like, he's got to be making at least $1 off of every issue.
But yeah, maybe 25%, whatever.
Yeah, who knows? So let's put a round number on it. Let's say 12 million, 12 issues, $1 million each. That's fucked up. And of course, if he goes straight to the toys, toys are I don't know anything about the toy market, but I'm pretty sure
I'm pretty sure he blew up for quite a long period of time. He did. The toy lines he did moved into like people that wanted more detailed action figures specifically came to him in the beginning, back before detailed action figures he popularized more detailed and expensive action. Yeah, detailed and expensive action figures for adults. He basically personally popularized that. And then there were baseball players. They got rights to like NHL, NBA. He was making figures for them, and he still to this day. Oh my
God, I didn't know that. Okay.
He still to this date, his company makes like Lego-esque sets for like Rick and Morty. I saw one on the shelf the other day. So oh my God,
I'm gonna throw up.
The company's not going anywhere, man. He's
fuck. Holy shit. Yeah. Fuck. And it's just like, man, Todd's the most interesting part about Spawn, easily.
Yeah.
And and I don't care if we end up. Okay, actually, this is a good I want to talk about that Dave Sim issue.
Right, the aardvark.
The aardvark bit. Okay, so hopefully this doesn't put you on the spot, but what did you take away from that Dave Sim issue?
I don't know. It felt I honestly, like, I was already finished the run by that point. I went back and I just kind of burned through that issue, and it really feels to me like Spawn is fucking Todd breaking away from Marvel Comics. Is that what's happening?
Yeah, that's definitely part of it. Yeah.
There was like this fantastical scene with Spawn using his powers to destroy these arms hanging out of a prison of Marvel Comics, just breaking himself free of the prison, and the money, the Malbolgia holding all the money. I don't know if Stan Lee or Marvel Comics themselves or the devil had them. I don't know what he was going at. I am Spawn. I am not Spawn. It was a lot. It was actually between Alan Moore, Neil Gaiman, Frank Miller, and Dave Sim, they all wrote the most psychedelic issues.
Yeah, no, they were definitely, I would say less frank, but the other ones, definitely Dave Sim's issue is the most psychedelic. So what do you know about Dave Sim?
I don't know anything. I'm gonna put myself out on a lurch. I don't know anything.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah,
I don't know Dave Sim. I've heard his name, but
yeah. Dave Sim back in 1976, 78, maybe, he started doing this like a mockery of sword and sorcery comics, like basically of old Conan comics, but starring an aardvark. And then at about 10 issues in, Cerebus, the aardvark, like all of a sudden he was just like, you know what, I'm going to tell real stories with this guy. A lot of that old stuff is brilliant. But the problem is that Dave's one of the first guys to self-publish, not the first guys, but one of the biggest self-publishers of the 70s and 80s. So he's the godfather of what Todd's up to.
Yes.
So he's basically, he's asking Dave Sim to come in and sort of bless Spawn. I would say it's like asking the priest to come in and give it a blessing.
Like put the indie stamp on my comics, like.
And not only that, like the art stamp. So you were right to point out that Spawn is Todd MacFarlane in this story, because at the end he shows up in the Spawn costume and he's like, I also, and his wife's name's Wanda and his kid's named after the printing press color CN or whatever. And they make a point of like, I got this big house and. So yeah, he's trying to announce that like I'm an artist, and I've escaped the bonds. But I would like to say that I think that there's a deep irony, and which we've already touched on in all of this. So let's go to a scene where they enter into the dungeon with Cerebus.
Yes.
And there's all those guys in hoods. And there's all those the cages, and it's not just Marvel characters; it's DC characters as well.
Yeah, the faceless people, right, in the hallway.
Yeah,
with
because they can't actually show
on their heads. Yeah,
right. So, and those guys are, you are led to understand that those individuals. That's Chris Claremont. That's Jack Kirby. That's Marv Wolfman. That's Steve Gerber. All those fucking guys who created something for Marvel and DC and got fucked. Right. They're all in the and they're bound and they're gagged because of the comics code, and they're separated from their creations because of work for hire contracts. And Spawn represents Todd telling all of them, and he's trying to break the cages and he's saying, no, you can be free just like me. And then of course he can't break them free because he can't erase the forces of history. And so at the end, it turns into a rap track. Look at all my shit. Look at my house. Look at my hot wife. Look at my kid. But what I think is significant, is that he never displays himself as Todd MacFarlane. He displays himself as Spawn. And Spawn, as we know, is an agent of Malbolgia. Now, in Dante's Inferno, the 8th ring of hell is saved for the sin of fraud, the sin of using reason and sorcery to fuck over other people. And it's a deeply ironic that he presented as Spawn as an agent of Malbolgia, as someone who claims to be for creators' rights, then immediately tries to fuck Neil Gaiman and anyone else he works with. It's as if in remaining as the image of Spawn, he's confessing that I'm a fucking asshole and I am the cage and I am the gag and I am the thing that's going to hold these people back. And my house is built on a dungeon that you can't see. So yeah, and that, you know, and it fits very nicely with the general atmosphere of cynicism which permeates Spawn. I found, you know, it's really gross. And the Dave Sim issue, which was meant to be a blessing and a celebration, turns out to be a condemnation of everything that Todd MacFarlane is and always was. He can go fuck right off.
Wow, I love
Yeah.
it. That was
Yeah.
that's
Fuck that guy.
it's funny too. The reason I came across the information about Neil Gaiman and the lawsuit was,
Yeah.
I was very interested in seeing which writers contributed, because you mentioned it to me before we started.
Yeah. Yep.
So I was skimming through the graphic novel, and I have the special edition digital versions of the graphic novel. There was a big Spawn sale for the 300th anniversary, so I picked them up for about $5 each or whatever on my app.
Yep.
And
Yep.
I started reading through them. And I just couldn't help but notice that even in a special edition, even with credits and additional artwork and sketchbooks, so on and so forth, that they're missing any information about the writing contributions. And I actually had to go pull that from Wikipedia, believe it or not. So that's where I stumbled upon it. It was just funny. And speaking about Todd MacFarlane this way,
Yeah.
he wants this to just be like barfed out as his creation, to the point where he stifles everyone's credit along the way. I don't understand how a talent like Greg Capullo, I don't know what kind of friendship they have, or how much Todd paid him to carry this book for hundreds and hundreds of issues.
So long. Yeah, that's another thing we should talk about. Yeah.
Well, pretty well, like about 5 issues from now, Greg basically carries the book for the other 300, right?
No, for at least 100. I
yeah,
think until
then
issue,
they
like
then there's
or something like that.
yeah, then he starts, but then even the people after that are basically they seem to be artists that are trained by Greg to mimic the style.
I mean, maybe as a lark, we'll explore some later Spawn later, because he gets a different writer as well. Like Todd. Sorry, just to go back just for a moment, the Dave Sim thing. Dave Sim said he was going to do 300 issues of Cerebus, and he did. Like, he actually drew every one, and he was involved in the writing of every issue, and involved in the promotion, and really, like, even up until this day, he could have probably made a whole lot more money than he could have, but he was like a proper fucking psychopath artist,
like a real like a purist, like somebody who wanted to be a part of their creation day in and day out.
Yes.
Not just like basically like spew just like drop a load of a one-shot idea and then just walk away with a big money rake.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, he probably should have, because he's facing troubles now, and he's an old man, and all he has to show for it is the fact that he was like drew like this aardvark story for 300 issues. But anyway, but you know, Todd, he stops, like you already hit the nail on the head. Like, he gets a writer later on, and he gets another artist later on, and he doesn't have anything to fucking do with his creation at some point.
Later episodes, we can dip our little toes into a man named Eric Larson, obsessed with his creation, and has a glorious and rich landscape with the Savage Dragon, who is part of the Image Comics launch as well, and who is injured this whole time as well. But in a very pure way, on account of his writing and art, remains in the book to this day.
Yeah, and Larson, I would love to talk about Larson later, but we'll put Larson to the side for a moment.
Sorry.
Yeah, but no, he's right up there.
As
definitely.
A direct contrast to this kind of,
I mean, Savage Dragon's kind of trash.
Whoa.
But it's not great.
Kidding.
Like, don't get me wrong. But I love Eric Larson's art. Like, I think he can, when he decides to pull it out of a hat, man, he's a magician. He's got the fucking chops. I would love to, we're going to talk about Larson for sure.
Let's do it.
But Todd MacFarlane, fucking, he's an asshole. Fuck.
I'm willing to leave Spawn right there on that.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, let's okay. Yeah.
Comics of the 80s and 90s.
So, We rolled the D4.
Boom.
And there was a slight typo on your part.
Typo, yes. I said that we should revisit Daredevil, featuring Frank Miller from issues 184 and 185. Slight correction. There was actually a 2-shot special that I was aiming for, which was 183 and 184. My bad. And that's what we looked at.
Yeah. So I already talked about this in our little chat bits. But what's notable about this is that these 2 issues were nixed by the Comics Code. So they were meant to be, there was a guy named Roger Mackenzie who was writing with McFarlane, Frank Miller, early in the run, in Frank Miller's run. Right. And then just before Frank took over permanently, there was supposed to be this story. But it got nixed by the Comic Code, and so Frank started early. And then later, when Frank was deemed, 2 things happened. Frank was deemed to be profitable, so they were like, we gotta put these books out. But then also the Comics Code lessened its strictures on drug conversation, and so they did. Yeah, so all of a sudden it was okay to talk about this. So without further ado, tell me about Daredevil 183 to 184, published June to July 1982.
Well, immediately, big fucking moment. Some like weird grade school kid, high school kid is frothing at the mouth, just whacked out, freaks out in class, jumps out of a window, splats on the pavement.
I fucking love that opening. It's so good.
Matt Murdock. Don't know what Matt Murdock's doing there, actually, in retrospect. Why was he at the school?
Well, actually, and the problem is this is a flashback. Because they had already produced these pages 2 years ago. And they had to do some little jigging or whatever. But this story would probably make sense if we read it in the context of Daredevil in 1980. Anyway, go on.
Right, that's okay, yeah. So it turns out the kid's whacked out on angel dust, right? I haven't heard that term in a long time.
PCP.
Yep.
The dust.
Crystal, rocket fuel, hog. Yeah.
I'm happy you keep saying whacked out on drugs, because later on the doctor's going to be like, it's known as a whack attack.
The whack attack, yes, I have the whack attack noted, which gives you super PCP strength. Basically makes you into a fucking frothing maniac. Which is just immediately foreshadowed in the beginning of this book.
Yeah, that's true. But you don't see it till episode 2. Now, I want to say from my my experience with the martial artsy bits, I've dealt with some guys who did some prison work, and they describe circumstances like Frank or Roger, Frank and Roger describe.
That's hard to believe.
People that can't be fucking put down because they're too whack attacked.
Oh God.
Yeah. So there's some truth to it. Anyway, go on.
That's a nightmare.
It's not great. That's where zombies come from, man. Fucking whack attack. PCP.
Right. I don't think you can buy that anymore.
I don't know, man. I'm not going to find out.
You know what?
I mean, put my feelers on the street. I'll see if I can get some dust. You'd
have to go down some dark alleys to get yourself some angel dust in 2019, bro. Yeah. Ugh. Yeah, so then, boom, the Punisher appears, right? Which really got me randy. I'm pretty excited about the appearance of the Punisher. He comes down on these angel dust heads that Daredevil's trying to track down to find out how this kid got almost killed. And no, she dies in the hospital. Right?
Yeah.
He drops the ball.
Someone's all upset.
So he wants to bring some people to justice because he's like a good old boy lawyer. Comes across the Punisher, just fucking putting people down.
Can we talk about this scene? When the Punisher jumps these 2 kids or 3 kids?
Oh, it fucking comes out of from the back alley.
I just wanted to talk about. I wanted to take a moment to talk about how Frank is a fucking at this stage is a genius at displaying
his sequential art was
violence.
Amazing.
Because so he does a rifle barrel left to one of them, And then he, at the same time, it shows him taking the stock of the rifle to the other guy's throat, and then
Yes.
he high kicks, and then again takes the stock right to the guts of the other person, but you can see it, like it all makes sense sequentially.
Yeah,
You don't often see in a lot of fights.
In the sequential art too. In this time, I feel like we did some X-Men books from back around this time previously, and the art is so poor. Typically, you have to load in some heavy-handed writing, and that wasn't necessary for these books. The writing was fairly streamlined. It was a quick read. It was action-packed, and the sequential art was actually so good from Frank Miller that it was clean delivery, panel to panel, which is shocking because of the fucking shit you get from Frank now is horrific to even behold. Anyway.
And that's true. And I would love to talk about later Frank as well.
Ugh.
But this early Frank, I'm really growing on this early Frank. I reread the Claremont Frank Miller Wolverine series. I was reading it, in bed, and the good wife looked over and she was like, "That looks really cool." I'd never hear that from her. Reading my comics, usually it looks stupid. But he's it feels like he's incorporating multimedia to some extent.
His use of like anatomy and acrobatics and stuff in fight scenes, like especially between Daredevil and Punisher. It was like
Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. It was amazing.
It was awkward, and it was stuff that you wouldn't see, and you wouldn't even be so bold as to draw people dodging bullets with acrobatics. Like a lot of people won't even go there this day, or if they do, it's just softly delivered. It's difficult to even. I don't even know where he would get reference from, to be honest, unless you were just like really like using wooden figures, or I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah, no, you're right to feel that it requires reference because his characters have weight. His characters move in space. Like he's really an excellent cartoonist.
Yeah.
And
at this time.
And I think later as well. I just think that this is a flattering comparison, but it's the only one I can think of at the present moment. In like with Picasso, his style got more abstract. His style got more sketchy. And actually, I'll pick a less flattering comparison. Joe Kubert. Joe Kubert's early work is very exciting to me. And his late work is very kind of dull and abstract.
His early work was really technically sound, and then I know what you mean. You're right.
Yeah. So I think and Frank at this point, like, he's a 20-year-old man. This is what you get at 20. Like this is when you're like the Beatles or the fucking Replacements, or I don't know, just any Metallica
players, right?
Just anyone,
right?
Peak age. Prime. So he's coming in strong. He's coming in with a lot of heart, and he's fucking delivering.
Right.
And actually, and what's most incredible about and I'll stop going on in a second. But what's most incredible about this is that it's 2 years before he actually hits his actual prime. Because remember, this is a flashback. Like, this is a work that he did 2 years before. His Daredevil work at this time is probably even better than this.
Wow.
But anyway, go on. Yeah.
Yeah, no, and then I was just gonna get right back through to the Punisher too.
Please.
See the Punisher's workout room. He watches things on a small TV up on top of a rooftop, and you felt like a little bitch, I'm sure, seeing the Punisher do one-armed weird push-ups with a weight in his hand.
Yeah, and he's so calm about it. He's sweating a little bit.
No, that's his fucking workout routine. Like a
he's doing Pilates with like with a 30-pound
one-arm Pilates plank with a fucking dumbbell in his arm.
Yeah, it's weird. Like, later Punisher's not going to be like this at all. Like, this is ballerina, physical perfection Punisher. This is not Garth Ennis Punisher.
No, and the best is when he comes out from behind out of the shadows, and Matt Murdock picks him up on his radar sense. Oh, good God, It's a it's a big
He's
guy,
a killer.
strong guy, young guy.
Yeah.
He's a killer.
Yeah.
His heart rate's steady. Comes
Yeah.
out like a fucking machine, the killing machine from the shadow.
Yeah. Punisher's an interesting.
Gives Daredevil a beating too.
Yeah. I'd like to. This is an episode later. We just keep we keep talking about what we want to do in the future. I would love to like just an episode like devoted to the Punisher. Throughout time. Like little bits. And as he evolved.
Old stories to newer.
Yeah. Because early Punisher, this is like he's more like a superhero. Rather than a vigilante, rather than a guy like a special forces fella. He's different from what Chuck Dixon's going to have later.
Well, I don't know. He really planned on shooting people in the face here. He got stopped multiple times.
I think there was some cheats on that though, because like let's even go back to when he fucking beats the shit out of those Angel Dust kids. All that matters is the dust, and then he jumps out. And like he makes a point of beating the shit out of them before he's about to kill them executioner style. And admittedly, he was going to kill them executioner style. But like, if he really just wanted to kill them, why did he jump down and beat the shit out of them first?
Because he's randy about giving beatings out.
He does need to
which
punish.
He proves later in issue 2 when he beats that old man to death on the rooftop.
Oh my God! Yeah,
beat that old
backhand?
Man. Beat that old man to death with his bare hands, and the guy's heart stopped, and Daredevil resuscitated him. That guy died.
I gotta undo the punishment. I think that's even a quote.
He gave him the fucking punishment. He doesn't like when you're in that kind of physical peak condition, you want to beat people to death.
Yeah, not a lot of Oh shit.
Anyway, Daredevil was no slouch though. Daredevil, remember those mafiosa guys?
Yeah.
The two henchmen that didn't want a piece of him. They let him take their boss away.
Yeah, they were like, I don't see anything.
I don't see nothing here.
Yeah.
They didn't want any Daredevil. They know he's doled out his fair share of the street beatings.
Yeah, and he's kind of a. So actually, I wanted to talk a little bit about the writer at this point, this Roger McKenzie guy, because so Frank obviously is heavily influential at this point, but Roger's still writing the scripts. And originally, when Stan Lee created Daredevil, well, not created, I don't know, fucking probably stole. He was more of a happy-go-lucky guy. He was more of an adventurer. He was the Daredevil. And you get a little bit of that sense of one of the things that Roger came from a horror and war story background. And he was the one that started to make Daredevil dark, apparently.
When he took the little dark tilt on it.
That's right. And so this story probably mostly comes from him, his desire to, because we haven't touched on it yet, but this is a very Saturday morning special, two-parter about the dangers of PCP. And its corrupting influence on society. It's typical 80s say no to drugs story. But it's not typical, but it's something that you would expect from this time. It's very Reagan era.
Yeah, and also
pre-Reagan era. Anyway,
and it also it was very preachy about using the law, to beat the bad guys, But that's all Daredevil's sort of story, staple as well.
But I don't know if that's the Frank Miller statement, and I mean that as I'm saying that from a position of ignorance. Like I literally don't know if that's Frank Miller. His position, I feel that it's not. I feel that Frank is not interested in Matt Murdock's straining with the law in order to deal with injustice. I might be wrong about that. Maybe we'll find out in the future.
Right.
But it's definitely a Roger McKenzie thing.
Yeah, it was and they did the twist where the guy's pacemaker duped the Daredevil.
Yeah, and that was actually interesting. You usually don't see that.
It
Usually
was actually
Daredevil's.
cool. I was
Yeah. But it was such a stupid and the reason I want to point to Roger McKenzie as the sort of culprit here. At the end, it's dumb. Evidence from Daredevil shows that, no fucking court in anywhere is going to accept evidence from Daredevil about your guilt. Like,
no
brutal
Daredevil.
vigilante beat the confession out of this man.
Yeah, that's not admissible at all.
Yeah, yeah.
And
So
actually, any evidence that Daredevil comes up with is not admissible. He's
Yeah.
actually a fugitive himself.
for sure.
Technically.
Yeah. No, he's a lawyer. At the very least, he should be disbarred immediately. He's so that's why I want to point to sort of Roger about some of the major sort of the beats of this story. I think Frank is really the reason you show up to this story. I think you could have easily told this story with a lesser artist, and it would have been very poor.
Oh, really bad. Yeah. You're right. You're absolutely right.
But you put Frank on it, and it's a fucking revelation.
That coach came out on the PCP. Oh, jacked up to the moon.
Oh yes.
Fuck, I was worried about Matt Murdock. Yeah.
And that fight scene's an excellent example of where Miller at that time is really doing fights like no one else in comics that I know of.
Yeah. He was on his game.
Because if you go back to those pages, it's it's a series of maybe 5 panels. They're long, so they're long and skinny, and one's foreground action. The second one will be background silhouettes. The third one, foreground action, silhouettes, but you can trace the kinetic nature of the action through the entire. Despite the contrast, or perhaps as a consequence of the contrast, it's just brilliant.
You can see the sequence end to end. When he ducks under a punch, you can see where his next movement goes, and you could really feel those fights, and that was the coolest part. Yeah,
but at the same time, it's fantastical. There's no way any human could ever do any of those things, but at the very least, you see how the figures are performing the action.
Well, you got to believe the Daredevil is superhuman, right?
Yeah, well, you would want to. That's what you and this is such a disappointment about comics, superhero comics generally, is that people. I don't know. This is a different tangent, but a lot of the action in most superhero comics is so poor, so unbelievably poor, that why don't you just do what Frank's doing? Frank's got he's got it on lockdown. He showed everybody how to do it. He showed everybody how to do it in the 80s. But I guess you can't do that.
You still don't get it. But I mean, they're good artists. I mean, they're talented artists that work month to month, book to book, and showcase skill, and they still can't even hold a candle to this.
Come on, take the ticket. We're busy here. Come on, take the ticket. Take it. Take the ticket.
I need this, right?
I'll remember your face.
All right, man. So the time has come for the D4. This time I'll give us the categories. We've got comics of the 80s and 90s. Number 1. Number 2, general culture. Number 3, Chuck Watch. And number 4, Classics Corner. So
4.
Oh, sorry about this, man. So we're going to read. I haven't decided exactly what issues yet, but we're going back to original Spider-Man, Steve Ditko. Yeah, way back, man. Yeah, 1960s or I guess early 1960s Spider-Man. I'll give you the issues later.
Okay.
Yeah.
This was your plan all along.
Yeah. Well, actually, it kind of hit me earlier today. It's I gotta read that old Ditko shit.
This is gonna suck. Awesome.
It's gonna suck awesome. Yeah, but you're gonna love it. I'll keep it reasonable. I'll keep it reasonable for both our sakes.
And our topic for next week, though, the main topic, I guess. Do we say that on here?
Might as well. We're going to do
Yeah.
X-Men Deadly Genesis. I don't know what year, but it's Ed Brubaker's run. The opening of Ed Brubaker's run on X-Men. Because I would like to continue to explore how much Professor X is a fucking monster. And this is a perfect story to do that.
Great.
Yeah.
All right.
So that's another episode in the can, right deep in the can.
Signing off then.
All right. Good night.
Now, all we need is a little energon and a lot of luck.